Hello everyone, and welcome to the Zip Line Classroom Activity Lesson. Okay, the learning goals for this lesson is you will learn how a zip line works, a specific type of brake line system, and height that is required so riders do not touch the ground. Definitions you will need to know. Slack, used to describe how much a cable sags, and bungee cord, used to refer to a type of rope that stretches. So again, today's lesson is going to focus on basically how a zip line works. Now, has anyone ever been on a zip line before and ever zip line? If you have, you know that it's really a lot of fun. However, if you have not, here's what basically happens. A person stands on the high side of the zip line. They get harnessed in and then attached to this long running cable. And what happens is then they jump off the platform and gravity then pulls them down the zip line and everyone has a load of fun. And then you stop pretty much near the end. Whoops. Pretty much near the end like so. Okay. Now, specifically, we have to look at a couple of different things on how a zip line works. Again, cable is basically attached at two ends at different elevations. So you got an attachment up high, you got an attachment down low. Okay. The pulley is basically the connection here that the rider uses to zip easily down the line while secured to a harness. And again, like I said in the previous slide, again, how the person moves is by the force of gravity. Now, one of our first key questions we have to ask is what types of things would work to secure the beginning and the ends of the cable lines? So, we're basically asking you to think about what could you use out there to attach two ends of the cable. Okay? Now again, basically two ideas is two strong trees, which is okay, but you have to worry about them coming apart, or platforms built to support the zip lines, which would be a little more sturdy. Now, sometimes when the cable is attached, the line may have some what's called slack. Now again, to demonstrate slack is, I've got Isabella here. Now again, what you're going to do is you're going to be watching the string. You're going to watch this little ribbon here. And she's going to tell you the difference between having slack and not having slack. Okay? So again, what you're going to do is you are going to watch the string. Watch the string in Bella's hands. Alright? And she will tell you all about slack. Alright, do it again.
Slack. No slack.
And again.
Slack. No slack.
Look at the wire again. Do it again. Show them again.
Slack. No slack.
Show them a couple more times. Show them slack.
Slack.
And no slack.
No slack.
One more time. Show them slack. So what does slack look like on the ribbon? No slack. Marvelous. Great job, Isabella. And again, folks, if Isabella can get it, then so can you.
Wait, can I?
Alright. Other than making the rider go, we also have to consider some other key components. For instance, safety being the number one thing. Again, you don't want somebody on a zip line riding and being unsafe. That would not be good. The speed of the zip line. Again, if you're going too slow, well, the zip line's not a lot of fun, is it? And if you're going too fast, you run the risk of plowing into the tree or whatever support system is holding the other end of the zip line. And of course, you need to know how to stop. In today's lesson, we're going to be focused on the braking system of certain types of zip lines. Now, how to get someone to stop. Now, one way is putting some slack, not a lot of slack like Bella's ribbon, but some slack in the middle of the zip line. Now what happens is when your zip line, so let's say this is our zip line, you have a little bit of slack down the middle here. So obviously you can see some slack right here. Now what happens is as your person on the zip line goes down, they go down really quickly, but then they're going to start working their way back up, which if you remember from earlier, we said that a zip line works on gravity. So as you're working upwards after you pass the midpoint of this line, what happens? You're going against gravity, which then immediately starts slowing you down. So one way to get someone to stop on a zip line is putting enough slack in it that they actually start going against gravity, and that slows them down. Another way is putting in a handbrake. Now again, I've been on a zip line myself where it had a handbrake, so if I felt I was going too fast, I would start to just pull on the brake and it would start to slow me down by itself. So again, that's another way. Now the third way that we are actually going to look at is a special brake that's attached to the cable, and then when you hit it with a bungee cord, the bungee acts as a counter resistance and slows you down that way. So here we go. Now again, here's our example. Now notice we've got an anchor on the bottom attached with a bungee cord, and this brake is on the cable itself. So again, then here comes our rider as they come sliding down. Now they want to stop because again, in the background, obviously we've got a tree to worry about here, and we've got an erupting volcano. So again, hopefully you're not on a zip line with an erupting volcano afterwards, but you never know. Okay, you could be in Hawaii and they think that's kind of funny. So one way to stop is again, as your guy or your zipper comes across, they hit this thing, and what's going to happen? Now this brake is on the cable, so when you hit it, okay, the brake keeps going with the zipper, okay? So when they hit the bungee, what happens is as this person keeps going down and down, this bungee is then going to get tighter and slow this person down. Okay, so first thing we need to know is what is a bungee cord and how does it work? Well, a bungee cord is basically a special type of rope that is very stretchy. And here to show you a demonstration of a bungee cord is Rosen. Go.
Bungee, 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 bungee.
So again, as you see, again, the bungee cord, as the rider gets to it, oh, it's weird, I got two riders here, but as the rider gets to it, the bungee cord will stretch and actually act as a braking mechanism. And when the bungee is extended to its fullest extent, and it stretches as far as it'll go, the rider will not be able to go any further than that because that's as far as the bungee will stretch. So now in this scenario, we have a rider on a zip line. It's got a brake, but you have to figure out what is wrong with the design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you about 30 seconds or so. I'll let you think about it. So again, we're going to leave the tape running and let you think about it. Don't yell it out loud, even though it might be obvious to some, it might not be obvious to others. So again, take a look at it, and then we'll talk about what's going on with this, why it is not right. Alright, so as we take a look, how many of you figured it was this? The cable is too low. Again, if we take our rider And we start zipping them along, What happens? They get down, and look, they're hitting the ground. Obviously, that's not going to be a fun zip line if the person starts plowing into the ground. Okay? So that's one thing we have to consider when we are designing a zip line is we do not want the rider's feet to drag on the ground or have the rider plow into the ground. So again, things to consider when you are designing a zip line. The rider's feet could drag on the ground or the rider could hit the ground, either of which is not a fun experience if you are riding on a zip line. Okay, so what can we do to make sure that the rider's feet doesn't touch? Well, one way is to make sure that it's obviously the cable is high enough from the ground. So again, as your person starts sliding through, even when they get to the very end, we want to make sure that they are not anywhere near the ground. The other thing we need to watch out for is the harness. We need to make sure that the harness isn't too long, because again, you could have a high cable, but if your harness is too long, then you're going to hit the ground anyway. So you need to make sure that everything's right, that your cable is just right in terms of height, and that the harness itself is not too long so that the rider doesn't hit the ground. Alright, so that's the end of this tutorial video on how a zip line works. So now, you are now ready to complete the zip line performance task in the Smarter Balance test. So thank you very much for watching, and good luck.